Hey guys, welcome to Redeemer Kids. I'm Mike, this is Mandy, and we are so glad that you can join us this morning.
So glad. Number one, we miss you. Thank you for tuning in. Number two, this is our very first edition of In the Kitchen with RK. So welcome to our kitchen. This is the place where we make all of our meals. This is my potato right here, right? So this is our kitchen. Welcome. And we wanted to make pancakes with you this morning. What better way to start off a Sunday, right? Some Jesus and pancakes.
Here we go.
So the first thing we're going to do is go over what ingredients it takes to make pancakes. So you need flour, you need some baking powder, some salt, sugar, some vanilla, and then also some melted butter and an egg. Today I'm also going to be making, our pancakes are going to be banana pancakes. So I have a banana here as well. So with my handy stand mixer here, we'll just go ahead and start mixing together the ingredients.
Sounds
so
good.
The first ingredient I mentioned was flour, and we'll just put it in. But since you're here, we might be able to put a little pressure on Mike. We have to put all the ingredients together to make the pancakes, but I kind of wonder what they taste like by themselves, but I'm not gonna try them. I'm wondering if maybe Mike will.
I'll try them.
Okay. Tell us what flour tastes like.
It doesn't really have a flavor to it, but it's kind of sticky and slimy once it gets in your mouth. It's not very good.
Well, hopefully these other ingredients make the pancakes taste good. Maybe it's not the flour. So I put some flour in, and then I mentioned baking powder. I've never tried baking powder either. Maybe we can get Mike to do that too. You want to try the baking powder?
I'll try it. Let's see if it tastes much different than flour. Oh, yeah, that's really bitter.
Okay, so we've taken flour and baking powder, which Mike says neither of those taste very good. I hope these pancakes taste good. I'm gonna put the baking powder in, and then, now here we've got some salt. We know what salt tastes like.
I know what salt tastes like.
Right. So you probably don't need to take, do you like salt?
I do like salt.
Okay, salt's flavorful. It brings out the flavor in things, so that should be good. Ooh, and we've also got some, you guys are gonna like this, sugar.
Sugar, I'll try. You never say no to sugar.
Right, so we'll go ahead and put some sugar in our pancakes. And then we mentioned the melted butter. Do you like melted butter?
I do.
Okay, so most of the ingredients, he's not a fan of the flour or the baking powder, but he likes the salt, the sugar. We'll get the melted butter in, just a little bit of vanilla. Smell that, that smells so good. Vanilla extract is really potent though. We'll just put a little bit in. And then, of course, we mentioned our egg. Do you think he'll try the egg before I put it in? No.
Nah, I'm not
What
gonna
if we put it in a little glass and just really quick, you just took a little sip of the egg? That
would probably be an easy way to drink an egg, but I think it would make me want to cry to have to try and drink an egg.
All right, well, we don't want Mr. Mike to cry, so I'm just gonna go ahead and crack the egg and get it in. And then we're gonna add some extra yummy bananas to our pancakes. So, and we can't forget a great ingredient that blends it all together. We need this to bring it all together, which is milk. And so we'll put some milk in the pancakes as well.
And I know what milk tastes like.
Right. So really, most of the ingredients you thought tasted pretty good, but there were a couple that you were thinking, okay, well, hopefully it all comes out okay in the end. Looking good. Alright. And so we've got our griddle over here. After you get the batter, the first thing you'll do then, now that the batter's made, is to go ahead and spoon it onto either a pan, or we're going to use a griddle in this case. But you could do this on the stovetop if you wanted. Alright. And so, I don't know, Mike, I've been just thinking about our Redeemer kids and all these different ingredients. It kind of makes me think about life in some ways, right? Where life is made up of some really, take sugar for example. Life is made up of such sweet moments. Or butter, oh my goodness. Life is made up of those buttery moments that are just so savory and wonderful, and you want to come back to it. It's just comforting. Salt, life is full of flavor at times, and those are such great things. But then we also put in the bland flour, and that kind of makes me think about moments in life that are a little bit boring, maybe, or just seem way too ordinary to matter. The baking powder, you said, how did you describe that?
It's very bitter.
Okay, so bitterness. There are moments in my life, I don't know about you, where I have felt bitterness or maybe even anger about different things. And then the egg. You thought that was going to make you cry.
Yeah.
There are some moments in life that unfortunately just leave us with tears and they make us sad.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, just making these pancakes with you today makes me kind of think about life like that. All right, so we're going to be enjoying our pancakes now. We've just been sitting here talking a little bit about just how different the world looks these last couple of weeks. I know you guys haven't been going to school. We haven't been going to school. We miss our students terribly.
Yes, very
and
much.
It's so strange doing school from home when we're used to being there together, right? We miss the people, and we're talking about a little bit about some of the disappointing aspects of not being in school and having to stay home. What did we mention? The graduations are being postponed.
Soccer season's not able to start. Can't practice. Little League's getting ready to start, and that's going to be delayed as well.
Right. I know kids are wishing they could, go to each other's houses and have like friend time. And I think about, I've seen several kids who had to celebrate their birthdays without being able to have a birthday party and inviting family over. I know that my mom and dad really, really want to go hang out with my niece Harper. And they're not able to do that right now. And so we kind of are in this time, we were just talking about, where things feel a little disappointing, or even if they don't feel disappointing to you, they're different than what we expected, right? Like we never expected.
You locked up at home.
Right, I've never in my wildest dreams expected to spend a month away from our students, to not be with you and Redeemer Kids. There's just no way we could have predicted that. And so we're sitting here talking about this, and it really got us thinking about all the ingredients that we put into the pancakes, the yummy pancakes. That each ingredient, not every ingredient we put in, remember Mike did a taste test, not every ingredient we put into the pancake tasted good or was enjoyable, right? Or what we would expect to be part of a pancake. Think about the baking powder in particular. Yeah. That one.
That was really bitter.
Yeah.
The taste lasted a while.
The egg or the flour. And doesn't that sort of remind you of life?
Yeah.
Like,
just start day to day, like the different days that we have certain days where, like when we leave church, like God is right there with us, and we're all like excited about going out there, and we're all fired up. Then there are some days, like, maybe we get in trouble at home and we get grounded. Like we didn't want to be grounded, right? There are days we get things that we don't want. But that's kind of like the baking powder and the flour, of the pancakes. It's part of us, right? It's reminded me of the story of Jacob. How, Jacob, he was deceitful to his dad, and then he met God. So he's had these, good days. He's got these bad days, and he's heading on to his uncle Laban's house to try and find a woman to marry, right? And he's going on, and he gets there, and he meets Rachel, and falls just head over heels in love with her immediately.
Right, like love at first sight.
Love at first. And he works out a deal with his uncle that he'll work for his uncle for 7 years. His uncle lets him marry Rachel. And his uncle's like, cool, that sounds good. I get somebody to work for me for 7 years for nothing, for free. All I have to do is let him marry Rachel. So Jacob does his work, and it doesn't even bother him because he's so in love with Rachel.
Right,
and he
sugar
knows,
days.
Yeah.
These are days full of sugar and salt. days that felt light, because he knew he wanted, because he was going after what he wanted.
He knew he was getting what he wanted at the end. Well, then the day comes, it's time for the wedding, and Uncle Laban is deceitful to Jacob. He dresses up his other daughter Leah in a veil where you can't see her face, and she's wearing all of the wedding garb where you can't tell that it's not Rachel. And then after they're married, Jacob finds out that he has married Leah instead of Rachel, and he's got something that he doesn't want. He never asked for this. This is nothing that he wanted.
Well, it's just not how he expected it to go. But what's interesting is that God used the disappointing part of Jacob's story. Because remember, we're just part of God's story. And Jacob's just a piece of God's story. And God can use whatever he wants. And so tell them about what you were saying yesterday.
Well, Jacob ended up also being able to marry Rachel at a later time. Well, then he ended up with what he wanted, right? That's what he was working for the whole time. But then the promise that God had made to Abraham, about his descendants outnumbering the stars and the grains of sand. Well, during that dream, if you remember, God made a promise to Jacob also about his offspring. And it said that your descendants will be like the dust of the earth. You will spread out to the west, the east, the north, and to the south. All people on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. So God has now made that promise with Jacob, and Jacob's like, all right, I've got this promise from God. Now I've got the wife I want. And God takes the wife that he didn't want, and that is the line that Jesus comes from. It's the son of that woman, Leah, who eventually leads us to Jesus. So God took what Jacob didn't want in his life and used that for God's purpose. That is what he chose to use.
And what we want to leave you with this week, especially in this time of just things feel so strange. It's okay to say that right now we're living in this strange time, right? I think this is such a good reminder, boys and girls, that in Romans 8, and this is verse 28, it says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." And I love the word, the most important word there for me is the all things. It's really easy for us to think that God can use our sugar-coated days, right? The days that are just coated in salt and sugar and warm, just melty butter, right? Those days that are good, we think God's got these days. Guess what? God has control over all of them and can use all of the days, even the bitter days, even the days that leave us crying, even the days that are ordinary and seem kind of like flour, So I think that probably wraps up. We've got to get some pancakes here, guys.
You can do.